All right. Lob the questions, Zachary.
Yes.
Lob them in.
So
What do we?
at Whole Self Wellness, there is the I'm gonna bungle this. Biopsychosocial-spiritual model.
Biopsychosocial.
Biopsychosocial. Okay, thank you. So can you explain that, like, for the layman?
Oh, 100%. It means holistic.
Okay.
Okay, fine. It means, so there's a modality called whole person, which biopsychosocial-spiritual model is underneath of whole person. So whole person is kind of like an umbrella term, and there are different types of whole person care. A lot of times in the medical field, they use the biomedical model. I'm not going to get too technical. I'm just going to say George Engel in the 1960s, 70s started coming up with this idea and coining it and tweaking it. And I really hope I said his name right. But that's what happens when you learn a word by reading it first. But so he came up with this approach that focuses on all aspects of the person. If you've ever heard epigenetics, that's another term that's kind of under this umbrella of whole person. But biopsychosocial-spiritual are four things involved. Bio is a technical term that means body or biology. Psycho is like psychology, your thoughts, your feelings, your mental health. So biopsychosocial is your interactions with other humans, your connection. And then spiritual is your spiritual health. So these are four pieces of your whole health under this model. And what's really cool is they've started doing studies that are proving this stuff. That there's an actual government entity, and they have too many letters in the acronym of the, forget it. But they research this. That's what they do. Whole person's care all day long, and they're showing that it improves health outcomes. And as much as this is beautiful and wonderful, people are struggling to implement it in a professional setting. Like a doctor cannot tell me what I should do spiritually, right? Because that's mine. I get to decide that. Ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do, right? My stepmom used to say 50 feet and a follow-up. That just means back on off, right? That's mine to decide. And I kind of like happened my way into this by doing my prayer and my meditation and stuff. And I started to see the different pieces that I could move in my social health, in my physical health, in my mental health. And that the impact was absolutely powerful. And so I'm not just proposing, I'm bringing to the world that this modality that they said is really, really, really powerful is even more powerful when I apply it personally and then bring it to my doctor. It's really, really cool when I get to define what spiritual means. When I get to do spiritual self-care, and I get to do social self-care, and I get to do physical self-care, and I get to do emotional, intellectual self-care, I can do all of those things and take care of myself and then bring it to my doctor and say, okay, here's what I'm working on. Really powerful. It's exponential impact. So all of these things sort of like work together and bleed together. It's really, really cool. When I take care of my physical self better, it creates more capacity for my mental health. And when I take care of my mental health, it creates more capacity for my physical health. And it's just, there's this cyclical thing that happens. It's really beautiful. So it's your mind, your body, your spirit, and your relationships. And the cool study that they've done, there's several, but they do brain scans on people that show that when they feel safe and connected with another human, it changes the chemicals that their brain produces. It changes how much of that chemical it produces. It changes how their pain centers light up. That's a Sue Johnson thing for emotional focus therapy, EFT. She showed that it changes how your pain is perceived by your brain. It's really, really, really cool. So as we do self-care in these areas, it has massive impact in all the other areas.
Wow. If you could find a link to that study, I'd love to pour over that. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, Sue Johnson actually just passed away recently,
Mm.
and she talked about it ad nauseum. This was something that she talked about frequently. It's in her CV. It's everywhere. Absolutely. Let's find the link and put it in down below. Karen Purvis is another one that did a lot of studies, and phenomenal stuff that came from this TBRI Institute in Texas. And so the different chemicals in the brain and the things like that, that's where I got it is Karen Purvis. And so she's into epigenetics and how your brain changes and things like that. It's really phenomenal.
That is very, very interesting. And then another question that occurred to me while you were talking is, so as kind of culturally, we've really come to embrace and understand mental health care in a way that we didn't before. And physical health care, of course, has always been a priority. But how would you introduce maybe spiritual self-care to someone who is not acquainted with the spirit?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you. I think before we do that, we have to define what I mean. And when I talk about spiritual, I'm talking about it according to the literature. So the literature differentiates. So there are three terms, and they are separate, distinct terms. And if we want to talk about it from a lens of international, non-denominational, um, anybody can apply it, then we have to kind of pull these terms apart and allow other people their own agency. And I'm all about that. I'm all about that. I actually have, I don't know if you know this, but my upbringing is actually interracial, bilingual, multicultural, all the things. So I don't know if you know that about me. Multiple religions. I have a rather eclectic upbringing that you'll hear come out of my mouth at random times, and people will be like, "Where'd that come from?" Where? Me, my mouth. But well, so I grew up in a multicultural setting, and I actually really valued it. And so that's something that is a foundational principle for me, is presenting this stuff in a way that you can have a group of people from different religions talk about spirit and spiritual self-care. They can be Shinto, they can be Buddhist, they can be Catholic, they can be Mormon, they can be this, they can be that, they can be into astrology, and they can get in a room together and have a conversation that's productive. I want that for whole self wellness. That's super important to me. So pulling these terms apart is really important. So there's spirit, there's spiritual, and then there's what's called religiosity. I know it's a word. It doesn't sound like a word, but it's a word. It's a ridiculous word, is what it is.
I think that if it helps, I think I have heard that before. So
yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I feel better. I feel supported. But your spirit is. Have you ever had people ask you to define yourself, and you're like, well, here are my thoughts, here are my feelings, here's my body, but I mean, none of those are really completely me. There's something me that's more. I don't know what it's not exact. My thoughts don't make up who I am. They're just a part of me. My body is a part of me, but it's not all of me. And so that spirit is part of you that you can't really define, but it's there, and it's you. And it's internal somewhere. You can't put it on a Scantron. You can't put it on a Petri dish. You can't do lab work. There's no MRI that finds this for you. You just feel it inside and you know that it's there. That's your spirit. Spiritual is the process of self-care for that part of you can't define. And just like your teeth need to be brushed, and if you don't brush your teeth, the dentist is going to be like, hey, why are you not brushing your teeth? You want to lose them? Yes? Okay. Only brush the ones you want to keep, right? Like we have to have a shower, we have to brush our teeth, our bodies need that. And then we're starting as a society to understand our mental health needs self-care as well. But we haven't gotten to a place where we've collectively accepted that our spirits need self-care. And this is where this modality gets really, really tricky to be applied on mass scale, which is why individually it's really powerful. So it's the process of metaphorically brushing our teeth. For some people, that's hiking. That's how they get spiritually connected. For some people, it's meditation. For some people, it's prayer. It's that feeling connected. And I talk about it internal and external. Internal being my spirit, connecting with myself, feeling that sense of oneness, which a lot of people feel when they meditate, which is why meditation is so huge right now, which is why it's a great self-care for, spiritual. And then external would be my connection with whatever I think deity is. For some people, that's the universe. For some people, that is their ancestors. For some people, that is a polytheistic construct. For some people, that is one God. For some people, that's Jesus, right? Like you get to decide that for you, and I get to decide that for me, and that's totally okay. That's what's so beautiful about that. So internal is me connecting with myself, and external is me connecting with whatever my deity is. And that's self-care, is having those moments of feeling rejuvenated, feeling connected, feeling loved and safe. And then religiosity is the religion, which I like to define and explain. That's the rites, the rituals, the common thing, like praying the rosary or communion or sacrament, or these different things that we do. For some people, it's worshiping in a temple. There's like a specific ritual. I had a friend that was Shinto, and she had this beautiful little pouch that she had been given, and it was part of her coming of age. And it was sacred. It was very, very, very sacred to her. And so it was cool for her to tell me it existed and to even show it to me. But anything really beyond explaining what it was too sacred, and we don't go there. But that was a rite and a ritual that helped her with her spiritual self-care. And your spiritual self-care helps you with your spirit to stay healthy and strong. I've actually spent a lot of time in the literature, a lot of time researching, a lot of time with my own prayer and meditation and spiritual work, which hiking is a big one for me. That's why it comes up. Hiking is where I go and I commune with my deity. And so a lot of what's gone into whole self wellness has not just been research, it's been iteration, where I've been applying things. And it's not just been research and iteration, it has been prayerful and revelatory. And when I break it up that way, I get to say that I've had a spiritual experience in a way that I hope resonates with people of any denomination, because everybody can get to a point where they know what that feels like, to feel that connectedness, that rightness. And I may or may not include this in my TEDx talk, but it's this almost instinct that you have and this connection that you have. And so as you're going through, you like, for example, two options are presented to you medically, you feel a click. There's something that just, and it feels right. And you're like, I don't know why, but of these two, I'm gonna choose this one. This is the one, this is the direction that I feel I need to go. And that's that really cool instinct, that really cool spiritual connection. And we can get to the point where we have that multiple times a day. And I assert very, very, very adamantly that is actually the most important piece, is spiritual self-care. When we start doing spiritual self-care, everything else sort of works its way out because of that feeling of connectedness and rightness and that click that happens. And it looks different for Elizabeth than it does for Kammi, than it does for Heidi, than it does for Deborah, than it does for Mandy, than it does for anybody else. It looks different. And that's okay. That's okay. It gets to be okay.
Another thing I've noticed is as I fed my spirit, the more I become aware of that need and the more of that spiritual hunger I feel. It's very enlightening because it's like, yes, there is something here that I'm taking care of. And the more I take care of it, the more wonderful and the more at peace I feel.
It's a beautiful, peaceful feeling, huh? And
Mhm.
it's like we didn't even realize we were holding our breath.